The Ghost of Halewood. Unmasking EasyOrca. The veneer of suburban tranquility is a powerful shield. In Halewood, a sprawling district on the southeastern edge of Liverpool, life moved to a familiar, unassuming rhythm. It's a place of neat brick houses, clipped lawns, and the quiet hum of weekday routine landscape of comforting normality. It was here, on Ronald's Way, that Jeffrey Bloxam, a man of 52, lived a life so quiet it bordered on invisible. To his neighbors, he was just Jeff, the polite but reserved man from down the street, the one who kept to himself. His modest house was unremarkable, its curtains often drawn, a dusty but perfectly functional silver VW Caddy parked in the drive. He caused no trouble, drew no attention, and offered no reason for a second glance. But a second glance was precisely what was needed, because behind the drawn curtains and the placid facade, Jeffrey Bloxam was a different man entirely. He was a ghost in a machine, a logistical linchpin in a vast criminal enterprise, a man who moved millions of pounds worth of narcotics with the detached efficiency of a corporate manager. He was not just a cog, he was a backbone. And his story reveals the terrifying truth that the most dangerous figures are often not the ones who stand out, but the ones who blend in so perfectly you never see them at all. A fateful click on a cold December day. On the 16th of December, 2024, the air over Merseyside was sharp and cold. On the roads, the elite officers of the Matrix Disruption Unit were on patrol. Their mandate is proactive. They don't just respond to crime, they hunt for it, seeking out the telltale signs of the drug gangs, gun runners, and organized crime groups that operate in the region's shadows. As Bloxam's silver VW Caddy passed, something snagged an officer's attention. It wasn't reckless driving or a faulty taillight. It was an almost preternatural calmness in the driver, a stillness that felt out of place. It was a professional hunch, a gut feeling honed by years of experience. The blue lights flashed. Pulled over near his home, Bloxam was the picture of compliance. He was polite, his papers were in order, and his answers to their routine questions were calm and direct. Yet, the officers' initial suspicion lingered, refusing to dissipate. They asked him to open the rear of the Caddy. For a man who ostensibly ran courier services, the cargo area was eerily empty. It was this emptiness that amplified their curiosity. One officer, trusting his instincts, leaned into the cargo bay and rapped his knuckles firmly on the floor. The sound was all wrong. Instead of the flat, metallic thud of a standard van floor, the rap produced a dull, resonant boom that spoke of a professionally crafted cavity beneath. It was a hollow echo that screamed concealment. Tapping again, the sound confirmed it. When they informed Bloxam he was being arrested on suspicion of being in possession of controlled drugs, he offered no resistance. With Bloxam in custody, the officers set to work on the van's floor. It took considerable effort, but they finally prized it open to reveal a masterpiece of criminal engineering. This was no makeshift hideaway. It was a sophisticated, purpose-built concealment, a secret compartment reinforced with heavy metal and operated by a complex, hidden mechanical system. It was a structure designed by experts with one sole purpose: to be invisible. And inside, nestled with chilling precision, were 17 rectangular blocks, each professionally wrapped and sealed. They were later confirmed to be 17 kilograms of high-purity cocaine, a haul with a street value in the millions. In that moment, the police knew they hadn't just caught a driver. They had just pulled a critical thread, and an entire criminal tapestry was about to unravel. When they later informed him he was being investigated in connection with the compromised EncroChat network, his quiet, knowing reply said everything. Ah, that. The ghost in the machine. EasyOrca. The key that unlocked Bloxam's secret world was a bespoke mobile phone. It was an EncroChat device, the so-called WhatsApp for gangsters. before its servers were brilliantly infiltrated by a French and Dutch joint investigation team in 2020, a digital earthquake for organized crime known as Operation. Venetic EncroChat was the most trusted communication tool in the global underworld. For an annual fee of around Euro 1,500, it provided a custom handset stripped of its camera, microphone, and GPS. It ran 2 operating systems, a decoy android for plausible deniability, and a hidden encrypted platform for secret communications. Messages were fully encrypted and could be set to self-destruct. A panic wipe feature could erase the device remotely if it fell into the wrong hands. Users felt invincible. Bloxam's handle on this clandestine network was EasyOrca. The data retrieved from his device was a revelation for the digital forensics experts at Merseyside Police and the National Crime Agency, NCA. Between March and June 2020, EasyOrca had been a prolific and indispensable coordinator. The decrypted logs painted a portrait of a man who was not merely a courier, but a high-level facilitator, a trusted manager moving staggering quantities of drugs. The messages laid bare a conspiracy to supply at least 104 kilograms of cocaine and 58 kilograms of cannabis. EasyOrca was the logistical hub, a vital link between suppliers in Europe and customers across the UK. His conversations with around 30 other anonymous EncroChat handles were a masterclass in criminal logistics. He arranged the importation of drugs from Holland and Spain, planned intricate delivery schedules, and coordinated payments. In one conversation about the various qualities of cocaine on offer from a supplier, Bloxam's detached, businesslike tone was chilling. He quipped, "You are like a sweet shop, sir." In other messages, he discussed dividing large shipments into smaller batches, assigning drivers, and calculating the safest times for vehicles to pass through potential checkpoints. The data was the script for his criminal life, and on the 16th of December, he had simply been acting out his final scene. A clockwork operation of a shadow corporation. The network EasyOrca operated with the cold precision of a Fortune 500 company. This wasn't a chaotic street gang. It was a shadow corporation with a sophisticated supply chain, quality control, and a clear management structure. The custom-built hide in Bloxam's VW Caddy was standard operating procedure. This criminal syndicate used a fleet of Trojan horse vehicles, each modified by specialists in the underworld trade of building undetectable concealments. Every facet of the operation was meticulously planned to mitigate risk. The drugs were packaged in multiple layers of odor-proof material, often industrial-grade and vacuum-sealed, to thwart sniffer dogs. Deliveries were timed for off-peak hour-surly mornings, or late at night when traffic was light, and random police checks were less frequent. The network constantly varied its routes, using a web of temporary warehouses, private homes, and anonymous car parks as transit points to avoid establishing any traceable patterns. This professionalism extended to their finances. The court would later hear that Bloxam, from his role as EasyOrca, had personally profited to the tune of at least £4.78 million. This river of illicit cash was laundered through a web of accounts and assets, including the purchase of 2 new houses. Yet, this immense wealth was deliberately hidden behind his facade of modest, working-class life. The contrast was the core of his cover, the multi-millionaire drug boss living the life of an ordinary man, driving a dusty van while orchestrating deals that spanned nations. The immovable wall of silence. Throughout his arrest, interrogation, and court proceedings, Jeffrey Bloxam's composure never broke. He was a pillar of calm. Faced with the irrefutable evidence of 17 kilos of cocaine in his possession, he pleaded guilty to that charge. But beyond that, he built a wall of silence and refused to lay a single brick out of place. He offered no names, no details, no excuses. He refused to identify a single one of his 30 EncroChat contacts, protecting the kingpins above him and the network around him with absolute loyalty. This was not the silence of a terrified man. It was the calculated silence of a seasoned professional who knew the rules of the game. The court heard he had prior convictions, including a 6-year, 8-month sentence for conspiracy to supply Class B drugs. He had completed his criminal apprenticeship and learned his lessons well, chief among them being Omertaith Code of Silence. For the investigators at the NCA and Merseyside Police, it was a source of immense frustration. They had the digital ghost, EasyOrca, but the man in front of them was an impenetrable fortress. They could see the shape of the network in the data, the suppliers, the other facilitators, the customer's butt. Bloxam held the key to putting real names and faces to the anonymous handles. He could have traded information for a lighter sentence, but he chose to accept his fate. His silence was his final act of control, a defiant statement that while they had caught him, the war was far from over. A verdict, written in digital ink. On the 12th of February, 2025, in the sterile, imposing environment of Liverpool Crown Court, the final act of Jeffrey Bloxam's double life played out. The prosecution's case was a testament to modern policing. It was built not on witness testimony or confessions, but on a waterfall of irrefutable digital data. The messages from EasyOrca were overlaid with cell tower records, vehicle tracking, and traffic camera footage, creating a synchronized, undeniable timeline of his crimes. The contrast in the courtroom was stark. The cascade of digital evidence flashing on screens, detailing a vast criminal conspiracy against the impassive, silent figure of Bloxam in the dock. Prosecutors described him not as a simple courier, but as the backbone of the system, a man whose logistical prowess was essential to the network's success. Judge Catherine Pierpoint agreed. In her sentencing remarks, she told Bloxam, "You were a trusted and integral part of this operation. The quantities of drugs were vast, and you were aware of the scale of what you were involved in." For his role in the conspiracy to supply 104 kilograms of cocaine and 58 kilograms of cannabis, for the 17 kilograms found in his van, and for possessing criminal property, he was sentenced to 17 years and 4 months in prison. It was a heavy price, the cost of his professionalism and his loyalty. The case of Jeffrey EasyOrca, Bloxam, stands as a major victory for law enforcement and a stark example of how technology can both empower crime and bring it crashing down. Yet, a deeply unsettling question remains. The true horror of this story is not the drug lord in a mansion, but the ghost in the suburban house. For every Bloxam caught by an officer's sharp intuition, how many more are out there, hiding in plain sight, their ordinary lives, the perfect camouflage for the extraordinary evil they orchestrate just beneath the surface? The fight continues, not just on the streets, but in the quiet cul-de-sacs where the most dangerous secrets are kept.